So generally, TED Talks, usually people get up and they talk about this innovative, big idea that could change the world, right? Well, unfortunately, I don't have a new innovative idea that can change the world. But what I do have is an idea that I've already been able to and lucky enough to experience that can allow us to be the change. And this idea is organizing. So what organizing is, it's mobilizing, educating, and empowering individual people to come together as a large group with a single message or a single idea. And more importantly, when people are organizing, it's not just coming together around an idea, it's usually for a very strong purpose. And usually we call this building a movement. So you're organizing to building a large movement, whatever the issue may be. And what we'd like to see is movements to push for political change. So political change is really important because here in America we actually can push for political change because of our democracy. And I really emphasize the importance of political change because a lot of people, when they think change, they think simple things like this. And I brought this light bulb to represent lifestyle change. And the problem with this, and, CFLs, it's a good thing, reduce your electricity and all that, but this isn't enough. This light bulb won't do it. This isn't going to bring about the change. I mean, the climate crisis is a major problem, and this light bulb is not enough. Changing your light bulbs is not going to set new energy efficiency standards for buildings. Changing your light bulbs is not going to make a better energy grid that distributes the energy in a more strategic, sustainable way. And changing your light bulbs is not going to stop corporations from burning fossil fuels, which is causing climate change. So obviously, I'm not going to get into the details of climate change. Everyone here learns about it in your science classes. And I'm not going to get into the science, but I do want to mention that 97% of climate scientists do believe in climate change, and they do attribute it to man-made causes. It's the truth. There's very little debate, if any. And this was a recent study done, so this is very recent. So we're literally burning the planet. And corporations and our government want us to focus on lifestyle change because they know that America's a democracy, and they want to distract us with, oh, be green, be an environmentalist, change your light bulb. But in actuality, the power needs to come from, the change needs to be political change. And we really need to focus on, obviously doing our part, but also pushing and joining the larger climate movement. And I wanted to dig a little bit deeper to show some examples from history that this has actually worked and it has resulted in being the change. They're pretty obvious examples. The first being the civil rights movement, right? People came together because they were oppressed and discriminated against and said this isn't right. They came together under one message and said we need equality, and they got the Civil Rights Act in 1964. So they really built a movement and came together and created the political change. The next example I want to briefly talk about is the women's suffrage movement. Women in the early 1900s were not allowed to vote. They said this is not okay. We should be allowed to make decisions. We should be allowed to say what's happening and going on in this country. So they stood up, they stood together, they marched, and in around 1920, the 19th Amendment passed, giving women the right to vote. So what's this mean for the youth climate movement? Climate movement in general and the youth climate movement is really important, and this is what I've dedicated my life to. I'm extremely passionate about it, and this is something that I wake up and go to work every day with a smile on my face, right? So this is something that I'm extremely dedicated to. So real quick, I want to just briefly explain what the youth climate movement is and the different aspects of it. So you have Energy Action Coalition, which is what we call the hub of the youth climate movement. It's a group based in DC that isn't really a group at all. It's a coalition of over 50 organizations. Now, the more people you can represent, so they represent 50 organizations which represent hundreds of people on the ground, the more people, the more power you have. So we work collectively as one group with one solid message as Energy Action Coalition. My employer, the Southern Energy Network, works at a regional level. We work with young people in the Southeast, empowering them and building movements in the Southeast. And then, let's get to Florida now. The Florida Yes Coalition. Now, we don't have a cool logo, but what we do have is the knowledge and understanding that political change is really the best way to create large amounts of change in a good amount of time. So the Florida Yes Coalition is young people from all over Florida. So in this picture you have students and young people from Miami area, you have them from Fort Myers, you have them from UCF, which is in Orlando, FAMU, Tallahassee, FSU, etc. So these are young people on college campuses and high schools that understand that they want to create change and that the best way to create that change is through political engagement. So the Florida Yes Coalition has worked on 2 campaigns recently, and the most recent one is called Power Vote. Now we have a lot of fun working on these campaigns. And what Power Vote is, it was an electoral engagement campaign. So we were out there not telling people who to vote for, but educating them on the voting process, educating them on the issues of climate science, and reminding them to get out and vote. So what Power Vote did is we actually registered over 2,000 young people in Florida in 3 weeks. And then after that, we engaged over 3,000 people and had them sign a pledge card saying, I'm going to go to the polls, I'm going to vote, and I'm going to keep clean energy issues in mind when I vote. And the third part of the campaign was we actually had over 6,000 contacts with young people, reminding them to get out and go vote around Election Day. And the fourth part of the campaign, which isn't done yet, now that we've got newly elected decision makers, we will be sitting down and meeting with them to say, hey, we came out and voted, we care about clean energy issues, it's your job to represent us, and we're here to hold you accountable. So that's the Power Vote campaign. So you have Tyler Offman at FGCU, who did a huge mock oil spill on his campus and got a lot of media. The Power Vote picture right here, that's Energy Action Coalition held a training in Chicago this year. March for Our Future, FIU students actually marched to the polls. That's Anita at UCF, Florida. She's super excited because she just went and voted. So yeah, lots of fun. The next campaign is called the Student Green Energy Fund. And the Student Green Energy Fund is the original campaign that really brought the Florida Yes Coalition together in about 2007. And what the Student Green Energy Fund does is it calls for every student in this, the state university system, the Florida State University system, to contribute $1 per credit hour. And that would be set aside in a green fund. And that green fund would be spent on projects that are environmentally sound and going to reduce the overall carbon footprint of the campus. Now, it's an incredible campaign, and if it were to be passed on all the state university systems, each year we would raise over $7.8 million that would be spent on reducing the carbon footprint of Florida campuses. So it's an incredible idea, and it's been done all different places of the country. Florida, it's a little bit difficult, and I won't go into the details, but the process of getting new fees added to universities, you have to go through legislation or the Board of Governors, etc. So currently, no campus has yet to pass one. But the good news is that USF is probably about 90% there, and each year, if USF passes it, each year they'll raise over $1 million. So that's $1 million at USF that would be spent on lowering its carbon footprint. So it's this idea of contributing a small amount of money. It is sometimes controversial. You're asking, university, going to school is not cheap, but you're spending a small amount of money to get a nominal amount of change. So that's the Student Green Energy Fund. Now I can stand up here and show you pictures and talk about how cool the youth climate movement is, but really I want to show you guys a video. And what the video is going to have, it's going to have several clips. It's not going to really make sense. It's just like cuts from different clips that we have A lot of shots from the Power Vote campaign. There's going to be a huge digital action that we did at the Southeast Student Renewable Energy Conference. So Southern Energy Network every year holds a conference, and young people from all over the South come to the conference. We had over 250 people. And then lastly, there's going to be a shot about Power Shift 2009 that happened, and Energy Action Coalition hosts a huge conference with 10,000 plus people every 2 years pretty much. So yeah, that's the video explainer.
Accomplish a change that we need to accomplish for our world, for our country, for our communities, unless we have the young people of our country and the world involved. Do you agree with me on that?
What you're going to see is, for the first time in a very long time, a generation stand up and declare a new direction for the country. And
Power Shift speaks to every seminal event in our nation's history when social change has advanced.
It's the most important generation of the history of the human family. These are the young people who, 100 years from now, humanity will either thank for achieving what seemed to be impossible, or there won't be anybody here to thank.
Best days are ahead with all of you as young people, so long as you are involved, and that's what Power Shift 09 is all about. That's what it's all about.
Great. Yeah, so youth climate movement is a ton of fun, and we like to keep it a lot of fun. But an environmental presentation wouldn't be an environmental presentation without some doom and gloom. And I have to say, it's scary. And I'm not even talking about the environmental side effects. In the past year, the larger environmental groups, the ones that you would immediately think of when you think environmental groups, like the Sierra Club and a bunch of others, have spent over $100 million trying to get a climate bill passed through the Senate, and it failed. Here in Florida, the past election, Floridians elected a governor and a senator who openly denied the science behind climate change. And then internationally, the world cannot agree on a binding agreement to address climate change. It's really frustrating. But the good thing is, we're next. The youth of America are next. And instead of me talking about how cool we all are and how savvy and technological we are, there's a book called The Generation We, and I took some shots from their promo video, and I want to show that.
I'm one.
I'm one.
I'm one.
I'm one.
I'm one.
I'm one.
For the past 40 years,
The political and social agenda of the United States,
has been set by our parents, the baby boomers.
who were the largest generation in America,
Not anymore.
a new generation
A new generation.
is coming to power.
They call us the Millennial.
And we're unlike any.
That's come before us.
We are more globally oriented.
We're more ethnically diverse.
We're more technologically adept, better educated.
Less politically partisan.
Our dependence on fossil fuels
Has polluted our environment.
We, the youth of the United States.
We will not accept a cruel and unfair future.
We must restore and protect.
We must restore and protect
Our environment and the planet. We must vote in unprecedented numbers
And exert our political power.
to create a just
And sustainable world.
We are the largest demographic group in the United States, and once unified, we can control America's political landscape.
So yeah. So come 2016, we all are considered the Millennial Generation. And come 2016, the youngest of us will be voting age. And we literally will control this country when it comes to voting. We need to make sure that as young people, we are getting politically engaged at a young age. Because history shows that we can create change. And obviously, the largest problem we are dealing with right now is global climate change. The idea is that we need to start learning from the past. Let's use the same tactics that they've used in the civil rights movement and the suffrage movement, and let's put it to work. But let's add our technological, savvy, edgy attitudes. Let's, and we've already started a little bit by using Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, right? But let's really hone on it, because we are really the change that needs to happen. And we need to realize that as young people, we need to drive this country politically. So in conclusion, we need to really stand up, and we really need to say that enough is enough. A lot of people talk about climate change and they mention future generations or my kids or my grandkids. No, I'm a selfish millennial, and right now we're already dealing with the effects of climate change. And I'm sick of it. And I'm not worried about future generations, I'm worried about us. So we need to stand up. And the environmental movement, after spending $100 million and failing, they are now looking at the youth climate movement and saying, what's the next step? You guys are the future, like, lead the way. So we will lead the way. And come April 1st to the 4th, once again, we will converge in Washington, D.C., and we will put our foot down and say enough is enough. And the youth of America, the Millennial Generation, us, we will be the change, and we will lead the fight, the largest environmental fight that humans will ever encounter.